Fragile Existence is one of those games that quietly lodges itself in the back of your mind. About 5-6 months ago we covered it on the channel, an ambitious mix of fleet survival, RTS skirmishing, 4X exploration and procedural planet hopping, all built by basically one bloke with far more patience than I'm ever gonna have. And since then, silence, mostly, which in indie strategy land can mean anything from game cancelled to developer is deep in a spreadsheet rewriting the UI for the 9th time. Luckily for us, it's the latter, because they just dropped a chunky new development update that finally gives us a proper look at where Fragile Existence is, what's being rebuilt under the hood, and why the project might be closer to reality than people think. My name is Tom, this is LT Gaming. We're the home of deep dive strategy, space sims, and the odd indie gem that deserves a bit more love. If you enjoy these slower, more thoughtful looks at games that are quietly cooking something interesting and different, feel free to drop us a like, it does genuinely help us. And if you want to follow along as Fragile Existence inches closer to reality, feel free to hit subscribe and join our community. Right, let's dive into this one. So for anyone new to all this, or if your memory's just as fried as mine after a week of juggling different videos, Fragile Existence is a survival RTS with far more moving parts than any sensible human should try to manage, which is precisely why I find it so fascinating. At the top level, you're running a refugee fleet. Not a shiny sci-fi armada, mind you, more a convoy of slightly traumatized metal boxes held together with duct tape and misplaced optimism. Every ship has its own modules, crew, cargo, damage states, even power grids that you're probably going to have to desperately reroute mid-crisis. Then you're going to have this tactical veneer. Combat will happen in real time with drones, vehicles and ships obeying proper line of sight rules, weapon arcs, terrain, the whole works. It seems like the sort of game where you're going to be repairing one unit while another is on fire, and a third is probably shouting at you about low power reserves, all very cozy. So it's going to be tactical, but also gloriously logistical. Because you'll survive not because you built the biggest army, but because you squeezed every last bolt and battery into something that vaguely resembles a plan. Planet side is where the game gets properly atmospheric and interesting. Each world will be procedurally generated with biomes, weather, wrecks, points of interest. The sort of places where you land will take a look around and probably regret doing so. You will deploy small squads or vehicles to scavenge, fight off hostiles or set up temporary camps, to haul materials back to orbit. This is where pathfinding density terrain will actually matter, and tying this whole thing together will be a 4X backbone. You'll be scanning star systems, mapping routes, deciding which planets are safe enough to land on, and dealing with factions who all have opinions about your continued existence. It seems like it will be slow, tense exploration. The kind of game where the journey matters far more than the destination. So to me, it seems a bit like Battlestar Galactica meets an RTS toolkit, sprinkled with survival economics and the occasional moment where you've realised you've run out of spare parts and your entire fleet is one fuse away from doom. Ambitious, absolutely, but this is why we're checking back in on it. Right, so let's move on to talk about what is actually new, because the 2025 dev update wasn't just a quick "it's still alive" post, it's the clearest picture we've had in a long time on how the game's coming together behind the scenes. And the headline is 2025 has basically been the year of UI surgery. Now, not the most glamorous kind of update, no flashy trailers, no dramatic new factions, nothing you chuck on front of a Steam page and watch your wishlist spike, but the sort of work that decides whether a game actually functions once players get their hands on it. The biggest addition is the brand new Commander's Log. This is a proper survival diary where you'll track the planets you've visited, factions you've met, items you've picked up, units you've built, and the whole messy journey across the stars. It will give the game continuity and weight, a sense of history as you scrape your way system to system. The system map has also been overhauled too, finally giving a proper sense of place. You can chart your route through different systems, marking points of interest, and plan your next move rather than fumbling around like you've misplaced different star charts. And then there is the UI rebuild, probably the biggest part of this update. Inventory handling, cargo transfers, unit lists, ship management, construction menus, all being rewritten or redesigned. It's foundational work, but the sort that takes ages but pays off for years afterward. Under the hood, there's also plenty of optimization too, smoother rendering, cleaner data structures, fewer janky transitions, better pathfinding, quiet improvements no doubt, but essential for a game that's going to be this complex. So despite all of these concerns, I'm still genuinely excited about Fragile Existence, because the core loop already works. Scanning systems, landing on worlds, deploying squads, scavenging, hauling your scrap back, making these horrible choices of where to run next. It's already functional, and it already has that tension, which I think is what it needs the most. The tone is spot on. You feel vulnerable, your people will feel fragile, and choices will have real consequence. So I think it's going to nail that sense of being hunted and under-resourced without resorting to scripted drama. And the ambition here is massive, and maybe that's the real Achilles heel with this project. Most indie teams would have picked one lane: RTS combat, procedural planets, fleet management, etc. But Fragile Existence is attempting all of it. And the 2025 update shows instead of piling on more features, the dev is trying to strengthen the ones already in place. And for me, that's the right kind of ambition. So what does all this mean actually in practice and in reality? The short version for me is Fragile Existence should be a lot easier to understand, and then that means ultimately play as well. The commander log will solve a huge problem from earlier builds. Losing track of where you've been, what you found, which planet tried to kill you last Tuesday. Now your entire journey is logged, making the campaign feel more cohesive rather than chaotic. The revamped system map also will transform exploration. You can now actually plot routes, track discoveries, and make decisions with a bit more confidence, or at least a little less panic. And the UI overhaul brings the game out of that impressive prototype territory into something you could comfortably play for hours. No more wrestling menus just to move 3 crates and a traumatized engineer from ship A to ship B. Couple that together with smoother planet-side performance, some cleaner transitions and fewer bugs, and the player's going to have a much more stable, legible experience. It's not flashy progress, I'm not going to lie, but it is the sort that really matters. Now you guys know I like to raise a critical point or two, and my concerns with this one is that it's not all neat menus and tidy star maps. And I see the biggest issue here being time. This year has been almost entirely about rebuilding and polishing, it seems, rather than expanding. So it makes it look progress is very slow from the outside. But I wanted to highlight something I saw from the dev, Lee, earlier on Discord to some recent criticism. He was explaining that some weeks everything is flowing for him. Some weeks he's simply fixing something he broke the week prior, and suddenly months have vanished away. He doesn't want to overhype anything, he'd rather show something real when it's genuinely ready. And honestly I respect that, and it seems like Hooded Horse do most importantly as well. I also found it funny Starter Fox Studios, the team behind Falling Frontier, were chiming in with similar sentiment on this thread. And they're right, these games aren't conveyor belt games, they're deep, intricate passion projects being built by tiny teams, or one person often, who would rather get things right than rather get things out fast. So yes, there are rough edges, UI isn't fully unified yet, and there is no release date. But none of it feels worrying to me. It feels like a developer taking the time that a game of this complexity genuinely needs. So to summarise all of this for you LT gamers, where does it leave the game? Honestly, I think it's in a better place than many people realise or give credit for. The foundations are in, systems have shape. It seems the UI is finally getting into a very good place. The project feels more focused and steady than it did 6 months ago. If the next updates polish the planet-side gameplay and tighten the campaign pacing, Fragile Existence could turn into something genuinely special. A survival RTS mixed with 4X, with mood, scale and storytelling baked into its mechanics. This is my take, but of course I want to hear yours. Are you still keeping Fragile Existence on your wishlist? Do these quieter updates give you confidence, or were you hoping for something bigger this year? Drop your thoughts down below. You guys always give great insight and it gives me a pulse on where this game is. Thanks for watching everyone, and if you want more content like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like, it really helps us getting out there on YouTube. And until next time, look after your fleet guys. Bye bye.